A trade request just shook the NFL, and somehow the Green Bay Packers are right in the middle of it. An elite defensive superstar could be available, but if this deal feels too perfect, that's because it is. Behind the headlines, there's a major catch nobody is talking about yet. But the real story hasn't even surfaced yet. It started as a normal off-season update, and then suddenly everything changed. A quiet contract situation turned into a full-blown shock across the league when Dexter Lawrence officially requested a trade from the New York Giants. No warning, no gradual buildup. Just a move that instantly put one of the NFL's most dominant interior defenders on the radar for every contender. And the reason behind it, it's been building for a while. Reports suggest the Giants and Lawrence have been locked in contract discussions for 2 straight off-seasons, and somehow they've gotten nowhere. No agreement, no real progress, and now it's reached a breaking point. When a player of his caliber decides to step away from off-season programs, that's not just frustration, that's a message. This isn't a minor disagreement. This is a cornerstone player essentially saying, "I'm done waiting." What makes it even more interesting is the timing. The NFL draft is right around the corner. Teams are finalizing their boards, front offices are making aggressive moves, and suddenly a player like Lawrence becomes available at the exact moment contenders are looking for that one final piece. But here, where things get complicated. Because while the trade request makes headlines, it doesn't guarantee anything. In fact, situations like this can go in completely different directions. Some players get moved within days, others, they never leave, teams dig in, negotiations restart, and everything gets swept under the rug before week 1. And then there's the locker room factor. When a star player publicly pushes for a move, it creates tension, whether teams admit it or not. Teammates notice, coaches feel it, and front offices have to decide quickly, do we fix this or move on? Right now, nobody truly knows which way this will go. Because this isn't just about a trade request anymore, it's about leverage, timing, and who blinks first. But the timing of this move might reveal something even bigger. The moment Dexter Lawrence hit the trade market, one team immediately stood out, and it wasn't by accident. The Green Bay Packers had already been quietly monitoring this situation long before it became headline news. This wasn't a sudden reaction. This was something building behind the scenes. Reports from earlier in the offseason suggested Green Bay had already made calls around the league searching for defensive tackle help. And Lawrence's name, it came up. That alone tells you everything about how this front office views its roster right now. They're not just looking to compete, they're looking for a game-changing presence in the middle of their defense. And honestly, it makes perfect sense. The Packers have been solid defensively, but they've been missing that one dominant interior force. The kind of player who doesn't just fill a gap, but completely disrupts offenses. Someone who demands double teams, collapses the pocket, and changes how quarterbacks operate. That's exactly what Lawrence brings at his peak. Pairing a player like that with Green Bay's existing defensive core could instantly elevate the entire unit. It's the type of move that doesn't just improve a roster, it reshapes expectations. Suddenly, you're not just a playoff team, you're a legitimate threat. But here where it gets interesting. Interest doesn't mean intent, and intent doesn't mean action. Just because the Packers made a call weeks ago doesn't guarantee they're ready to pay what it takes now. Situations evolve, prices change, and when a player officially requests a trade, the entire league gets involved. What once felt like a quiet possibility suddenly turns into a bidding war. And Green Bay isn't exactly known for reckless, all-in moves. They calculate, they wait, they pick their spots carefully. So now the question becomes, were they preparing for this moment, or just exploring an option they were never fully committed to? Because if this turns into a high-stakes battle, hesitation could cost them everything. And that's when the real competition starts to take over. At first glance, trading for Dexter Lawrence sounds like a no-brainer. You're talking about one of the most physically dominant interior defenders in the league, a player who, at his best, can completely take over games. But if you look a little closer, there's a problem that changes everything. And it's not a small one. Just one season ago, Lawrence looked unstoppable. He was putting up elite numbers, generating pressure consistently, and showing why he was considered one of the most valuable defensive tackles in football. He was disruptive, explosive, and nearly impossible to handle in one-on-one situations. That version of Lawrence, that's a player worth paying top dollar for. But then 2025 happened. Instead of building on that dominant stretch, his production dropped off in a way that's hard to ignore. The sack numbers fell dramatically. The impact plays weren't as frequent, and for long stretches, he just didn't look like the same game-wrecking force offenses had to fear the year before. Now, stats don't always tell the full story. Some fans believe it could have been scheme-related. Others think the supporting cast around him didn't help. And there are even whispers that contract frustrations may have affected his performance, though nothing is confirmed. Still, when a player's numbers fall that sharply, teams notice. Because now, you're not just trading for a superstar, you're gambling on which version of him you're actually getting. Is it the dominant force from 2024? Or the quieter, less impactful player from 2025? That uncertainty is exactly what makes this situation so complicated. On one hand, his trade value might be lower than it's ever been, which sounds like an opportunity. But on the other hand, that drop in value exists for a reason, and ignoring it could be a massive mistake. For a team like Green Bay, that risk matters a lot. Because if you're giving up premium assets, you can't afford to get this wrong. And just when you think the risk couldn't get bigger, the price tag makes it even worse. Even if you ignore the production concerns, even if you believe Dexter Lawrence can return to elite form, there's one reality that could completely shut this down for the Packers. The price. Because this isn't going to be a simple trade. This is the kind of deal that reshapes a franchise for better or worse. Around the league, executives are already comparing this situation to deals involving players like Quinnen Williams, elite interior defenders who command massive returns. And if that's the benchmark, then we're talking about something serious. A first-round pick, possibly more, maybe even multiple premium assets just to start the conversation. And that's before you even get to the contract. Lawrence isn't just looking to be traded, he's looking to be paid. Reports suggest he wants a new deal that reflects his status as one of the top defensive tackles in the league. That means a massive extension is coming the moment he lands somewhere new. So now, it's not just draft capital, it's financial commitment too. For Green Bay, this creates a difficult situation. Because unlike some of the more aggressive teams around the league, the Packers don't typically throw everything on the table for one player. They build through the draft, they develop talent, they avoid overcommitting to deals that could limit their flexibility long-term. So now they're stuck in a tough spot. Do you break your philosophy for a player like this? Do you give up future picks, knowing you'll also have to hand out a huge contract? Or do you step back and let another team take that risk? Because the truth is, once bidding starts, things escalate quickly. All it takes is one desperate contender to drive the price up, and suddenly you're either overpaying or you're out. And if Green Bay hesitates for even a moment, this opportunity could disappear just as fast as it appeared. And that's exactly where other teams might steal this deal right out from under them. The moment Dexter Lawrence became even remotely available, this stopped being a Packers story. It became a league-wide race, and that's exactly where things start to fall apart for Green Bay. Because they're not alone, not even close. There are multiple teams right now that can look at their roster and convince themselves they're just one elite defensive tackle away from making a serious Super Bowl run. And unlike the Packers, some of those teams are far more aggressive when it comes to making big moves. Take the Chicago Bears, for example, a division rival with cap space, draft capital, and every reason to make a bold statement. Or the Baltimore Ravens, an organization that has built its identity around dominant defensive linemen for years. If a player like Lawrence becomes available, that's exactly the type of move they don't hesitate to explore. Then there's teams like the San Francisco 49ers and Los Angeles Rams, proven contenders, teams that don't think twice about sacrificing future assets if it means improving their chances right now. They've done it before and they could easily do it again. And here's the real problem for Green Bay. It's not just about interest, it's about leverage. When multiple contenders enter the picture, the price doesn't just go up, it skyrockets. Front offices start bidding against each other, offers get more aggressive, and suddenly what felt like a realistic deal turns into something completely out of reach. Some fans believe the Packers simply won't be willing to match that kind of urgency. Not because they don't want Lawrence, but because they won't abandon their long-term strategy for a single move. And if that's true, then this situation might already be slipping away. Because in a bidding war, hesitation is weakness, and the teams willing to go all in, they usually win. So now it's not just about whether Green Bay wants him. It's about whether they can even compete in a race like this. And just when it feels like he's as good as gone, the biggest twist changes everything. Just when it feels like the situation is building toward an inevitable blockbuster trade, there's a very real chance that Dexter Lawrence doesn't go anywhere at all. And that's the twist nobody wants to talk about. Because despite the trade request, the New York Giants still view Lawrence as a foundational piece of their defense. This isn't just another player looking for a payday, this is someone the organization has built around. A presence in the middle of the defensive line that impacts everything from run defense to pass rush schemes. Teams don't just give that up easily. In fact, history shows us the opposite. When elite defensive tackles hit this level, organizations usually do everything they can to keep them, even if negotiations get messy, even if things become public. Because once a player like that leaves, replacing them isn't just difficult, it's almost impossible. And internally, the Giants know that. There's also the leverage factor. A trade request doesn't force a deal, it starts a negotiation. It puts pressure on the front office, yes, but it doesn't remove their control. If anything, it gives them time to evaluate the market, listen to offers, and decide whether any team is actually willing to meet their price. And that price, it might be higher than anyone expects. Because if the Giants don't receive an offer that clearly accelerates their rebuild, multiple premium picks, maybe even a young player included, they can simply say no, hold their ground, revisit contract talks, and move forward like nothing happened. Some fans believe this is exactly what will happen, that this situation is more about leverage than departure, that once the draft passes and the noise dies down, both sides quietly return to the negotiating table. And if that's true, then everything we're seeing right now might just be part of a much bigger strategy. Because sometimes the loudest moves in the NFL lead to absolutely nothing. And while all eyes are on this situation, something else in Green Bay is quietly changing the plan. While all the attention is locked onto a potential blockbuster involving Dexter Lawrence, something much quieter is happening inside Green Bay, and it could completely shift the team's priorities. It's the return of Tucker Kraft. Before his injury, Kraft wasn't just another piece in the offense, he was becoming one of its most important weapons. His production was explosive, his efficiency stood out, and more importantly, he gave the Packers something they didn't have before, a reliable, dynamic presence at tight end who could stretch the field and create mismatches. Then everything stopped. The ACL injury didn't just take him off the field, it changed the entire offense. The rhythm wasn't the same, the explosiveness dipped, and suddenly a unit that looked dangerous started to feel incomplete. That's why this latest update matters more than people realize. Because now, just months after that injury, Kraft is already back on his feet and moving, running, progressing faster than expected. And while it may not seem directly connected to the Dexter Lawrence situation, it absolutely is. Because roster decisions aren't made in isolation. If Green Bay believes Kraft will be ready early in the season or even close to full strength, it changes how they evaluate their biggest needs. Instead of feeling pressure to make a massive, risky defensive move, they might lean toward trusting internal development, trusting what they already have. Some fans believe this could quietly take them out of the Lawrence sweepstakes entirely. Not because they don't want him, but because they may not need to force a move anymore. And that's the hidden layer in all of this. While everyone's watching the trade rumors, the bidding wars, and the headlines, Green Bay might be making a completely different calculation behind the scenes. One that prioritizes balance, health, and long-term stability over one aggressive splash. Because sometimes, the smartest move isn't the loudest one. And that decision could define their entire season.